Hello there, and welcome back to Geek Week. Today, I'm talking Star Wars, as if you couldn't guess. When we last met, I spoke about Lord of the Rings, and I talked about how the fact that I now live in Finland is directly attributable to the Lord of the Rings, and it had, therefore, a pretty significant effect upon my life. I would argue that Star Wars' effect was even more profound, although perhaps a little less tangible. Growing up, well, I'm old enough and grey enough that when Star Wars first hit the cinemas, I got to see it for the first time in the first run. When it finally got to Grimsby in the UK, I don't think it was 1977, it might have been as late as 1979, but I did get to see it in the cinema with my dad. And when that Star Destroyer came overhead, it pretty much changed my life. Certainly changed the direction of my life. And I don't think Star Wars is unique in that. Well, it's unique for me, but it's not unique as a property. I think whoever you are, whatever you are into, there is probably something that came into your life at about that age, 7 to 10, that really drives your passion now. If that's Star Wars or Pokemon or Ninja Turtles or even something less geeky like football or rugby or cricket, something came into your life at about that age which really drives your interests now. And for me, that thing was Star Wars. Which is not to say it not had some significant effects upon my life along the way as well, and that's what I want to talk about today. Growing up, so many of my toys were related to Star Wars. That's birthdays and Christmases. When I had surgery as a child, I got given a toy X-Wing as my reward for being so brave about it. The way I played and the way my sisters played was driven by Star Wars. They followed me down that path. Don't believe me? Here's a picture of me and my sisters as Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and my sister Ruth as R2-D2. True. Actually, it's part of family myth, of course, that my sister Ruth there once bit the head off my Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure, and here we are 40 years later still talking about it. Not forgiving, talking. I mean, obviously, it went in and out of favour as a kid, but Star Wars was a big part of me growing up. I got the comic books, I got the toys, I got the novels. So much of what I was into was driven by Star Wars. When I first got into role-playing games, one of my earliest purchases was this, the Star Wars role-playing game. This is the original from 1987, not the recent reprint that's just come out. This is the West End Games, as you can see by the general tattiness of it. But that saw a lot of action, a lot of carbon scoring in there. Favourite of the original series, favourite Star Wars movie from the original series. I go back and forth about whether it's Star Wars or Empire. It's not Return of the Jedi, sadly. But it is either the original for its pure escapism, it's good versus evil. But I think maybe Empire is a better movie, which is not to say it's necessarily my favourite, but it's certainly the better movie. When the prequels came around, I couldn't have been more excited. This lightsaber that I was playing with earlier was bought from a toy store in London when the prequels were just coming. We saw the trailer for Phantom Menace. We watched it at work. We watched it many times at work. And my mate Justin and I, we went down to Forbidden Planet, bought some lightsabers, and spent the day basically dueling around the office with our two lightsabers. It was a big deal. A few years after that, they brought out a new version of the Star Wars role-playing game. This one was from Wizards of the Coast, and it was based on their popular D20 franchise, and this is the revised core rulebook of it. I have many copies of this, but they ran a convention-based campaign for Star Wars, and I was at the time just kind of getting into role-playing conventions. I used to go to 2 or 3 a year, had a lot of fun with them, and one of the things I really wanted to get into was the Star Wars Living Force campaign, which is an ongoing campaign ran across the world at gaming conventions everywhere, where people could download a module, play it for 4 hours, and report the results of that and use their characters at different gaming conventions. A lot of fun. This t-shirt I'm wearing actually is from Self-Made. It wasn't one that they did, but the RPGA, the Role Playing Games Association, I want to say, ran the Living Force campaign for Star Wars, and I met a lot of friends through the game. A lot of friends that I'm still in touch with were because we played the Star Wars role-playing game together. But being a writer and being a long-term Star Wars fan, I wasn't content to just play the game. And I got in touch with the people at Wizards of the Coast and offered my services to write for this campaign. And I got that chance. I got to write. The very first one I wrote was called Doromar's Children, and it was about these 2 space whales, not whales in space, but it doesn't matter. Two whale things, and the group of adventurers went and rescued them from poachers, essentially. And that was quite exciting. It was hugely exciting. It was hugely exciting for several reasons. Firstly, it meant that something I had written in the Star Wars universe had got Lucasfilm, copyright Lucasfilm, written at the bottom of it. Because someone at Lucasfilm, nobody important, I'm under no illusions, it was probably some intern, but someone at the Lucasfilm company has read something that I wrote in the Star Wars universe. And it was successful enough that they asked me to write some more adventures for that. In fact, in the end, I wrote 7 Star Wars adventures for the Living Force campaign, for the official Star Wars role-playing game. And each and every one of those must have gone over the desk of somebody at Lucasfilm. Again, nobody important, but somebody. And that's pretty exciting. What's even more exciting is, as a result, if you search Rob Edwards Star Wars on Google, I am the top match, because I have a page on the Star Wars wiki, Wookieepedia, which is about me. It's a sentence long and lists after that the 7 modules that I wrote. Here it is. But nevertheless, that is about me. That is about me and Star Wars on Wookieepedia, the official wiki, and that is my geek pride bursting out. To be honest, there's not much to go from that. It doesn't lead me on to any greater or grander things. I am still a fan of Star Wars. I'm still a fan of the Star Wars role-playing game. I have Edge of Empire, which is the latest iteration of that. I've played that with my wife and her family. I have played for many years the Star Wars MMO, Star Wars The Old Republic. I still have characters. I haven't got a subscription right now, but I do still play it from time to time. Star Wars is very much still, even now, part of my DNA. And while, as I said, it's not why I live in Finland, it's not why I do anything X, Y, or Z, but it is so much part of my character, my personality. Star Wars had a huge effect on my life. And I think that does it for today. Another episode of the Geek Week done. Join me sometime this week. I'm not going to promise it's tomorrow. Join me sometime this week for the next episode of the Geek Week, where I am returning to what started me on my YouTube channel, because I'm going to talk about Doctor Who, and I'm finally going to do my rankings of Series 11 of Who. If you want to catch up with me and information about Doctor Who, check the link here. If you want to check out the rest of Geek Week, check the link here. Thanks for watching. Cheers.